just a reminder of how things there would finish. 2-0 Moldova with expected goals of 1.32. Not bad for a team that, as I mentioned, 153rd in the world. What does it all mean? Well, it means that Norway and Jan are flying high. They made it 4 wins out of 4 with a victory against Estonia. Meanwhile, Italy pick up their first points, obviously, after that disastrous defeat against Norway in the previous round. For more, let's welcome in, shall we, Mario Malkia, but Gab Marcotti. Right, Gab, for those who haven't been following this soap opera, how did we get to a stage where a manager has already been sacked is in charge of a team today?
So basically, he had to be sacked. It's just not acceptable. It's not so much of the 3-0 defeat to Norway on Friday night. It was the performance, the listlessness of it. And remember, he also delivered a stinker of a Euro. Yeah, a couple good performances in the Nations League since then. But Italy were absolutely abject at the Euros as well. And so what happened was the Italian FA, got together with him and said like, right, you're going to be in charge for the Moldova game, but then we're going to sack you afterwards. And so what does he do? He tells everybody, hey, sure, why not? He explained it today. He says, well, it didn't seem right to be deceitful to the fans of the Italian national team. Now, whether this had a material impact on the game or not, I don't know. I saw Italy play pretty much the way they played against Norway. And the reason they won this game and they lost against Norway is that Norway have really superior players to Moldova. You cannot concede 18 shots at home. It's 18 shots on goal. You were right about the highlights. Yeah, Italy could have scored more, but hey, guess what? So could Moldova. Wow. This game could have finished 3-3. So I think we need to be realistic. He came up with a whole bunch of other kind of like nonsense half excuses because he's sneaky. He's sneaky, Spalletti, right?
Yeah,
he says
that's quite a character trait to describe someone as sneaky. Why?
Because what he says, he makes a really sad face and he says like, oh, I love this national team so much and it's the rule of football. When you have performances like this, obviously it's the coach's responsibility. I'm the coach. I chose the players. But they're all tired. They're all so tired because, Inter were in the Champions League final and Fiorentina were in the Europa League semifinals and Lazio went deep in the competition and we had some injuries. Dude, everybody has injuries. And you know what? The reason Donnarumma and Bastoni and those guys played in the Champions League final and therefore are tired is because they're really good players and their teams are really good and they play for top teams. And this is just the nonsense. And he throws these little things in there. He had this pathetic press conference the other day, I think it was the day before yesterday, where, at the end, he just says, like, I just want to thank, and then he names a bunch of his staff members with their first names, and then he just kind of goes silent, like he's glitching, and he leaves the room. I honestly, like, enough of this theater. Just be gone. And yeah, you take 3 points. The whole plan was, let's score a bunch of goals for the goal difference. Yeah, okay. Then you scored 2 goals against Moldova, and you count yourself lucky. There is a lot of work to do. I'm just really happy that this man and his nonsense are gone. He may be a genius. He did great things at Napoli, but the problem is geniuses aren't always right to be national team coaches, and clearly he was not.
So this was always destined to fail in your eyes, Gab?
I don't know. Maybe he could have caught lightning in a bottle. Right. He's a very weird man. He's a very unusual man. A lot of the greats are very unusual. I want to say maybe he needs to go and work with the players week in, week out. I mean, heck, he delivered the first league title to Napoli in since the Maradona era, right? That's special. That's an achievement. Nobody will take that away from him. But maybe he's somebody who needs to work with the players every day. Maybe he gets bored in between the national team. Maybe he has to, whereas when you're a club team, he can kind of disseminate his eccentricities day after day. Whereas with a national team, they're all concentrated in one big blow and it's too much for the players. But you saw the games. These guys did not look prepared to go out there on the pitch. And we can blame the players all we want. But we know that most of them are not bad players. We know there weren't any massive glaring injuries. I didn't see Italy's Lamine Yamal or Italy's Kylian Mbappe unavailable because we don't have one. We had pretty much most of the best players that we were going to play, except obviously not Acerbi, because Spalletti decided to annoy Acerbi by making him feel disrespected, whatever nonsense that is. But then again, of course, if we're relying on a guy who's 38 years old to stop Erling Haaland, then we're not in good shape anyway. But to answer your question, you know what your question was. That's how annoyed I am, Dan. You can dump some of this on players. Of course, players could have done better, but you can tell when a team that goes out there looks unprepared. Don nailed it before when he said how listless they were. It's just that part of your job as a national team coach. You're not going to teach tactics in the 2 training sessions that you have. Your main job is just to get them ready and put them in places where they can do damage. And he was incapable to do this, just as he was incapable at the Euros.
Are you surprised how big a failure this turned out to be, Don?
I think you're looking at a group of Italian players that there's no mavericks in this team. They work really hard. Retegui works really hard. Raspadori works really hard. The midfield boys. I looked at that team tonight and I thought, I couldn't believe Barella didn't start that game or Ravella didn't start that game. He's had an excellent season. But the players aside, I think it's pretty much of a muchness, whichever ones you choose. So tactically, I wondered, and Spalletti always plays with a 3. That's his mantra. That's his formation. But why would you play with a 3? Why would you not try and tweak that with a team that only play with 1 up front? You're sort of having 3 centre-backs. It was a little bit like the Inter PSG game when they had 3 centre-backs and PSG had no 1 up front. There were 3-man late at the time. So tactically, I think he's a little bit stubborn in his ways. You can't knock him because, as Gav said, he delivered a Serie A title to Napoli. But I look at this side and I think very hard working all over the place. You can't fault any of them. They'll work hard. They'll run hard. I think they played like a side tonight that knew their manager was gone. And the result was one thing. Didn't really show any sort of passing sort of dynamics between the lines or any patterns of play. It was like, get the job done, win for Spalletti, new man will come in, which will probably be Ranieri, and I think he'll get a whole lot more out of this team because I think he'll put an arm around them. I think he'll make them feel special. I think that's the way he approaches things, completely different to Spalletti.
Yeah, who is the new man? Is it? I'm not trusting Don's sources given his history. Who will be the new manager, Gab?
So apparently they're hoping for Claudio Ranieri, but of course, all right, look, and I say this with the greatest of love for Claudio Ranieri. I've known the guy for 25 years. I've written a book about him. Claudio Ranieri is 72. He was retired. He came out of retirement to save Roma, and then he said, "Oh, this is too much for me." And then he's a consultant to Roma right now. He's literally just walked into that job. What message does it send when you said, "Oh, our savior, it's got to be Claudio Ranieri"? Come on now. Why put him in this position? And obviously he's going to say yes, and he's tickled pink at coaching Italy. If they can't work out a deal with Roma and the Friedkin family to get him in, all of a sudden he wanted to have no jobs and be retired and be a grandpa. Now he's got 2 jobs, potentially. The alternative is Stefano Pioli, who of course got to work with Cristiano Ronaldo in Saudi Arabia, won the title with Milan a few years ago. Personally, between the two, I would definitely lean Pioli, not because there's anything wrong with Claudio Ranieri, but because he has another job. But either way, look, nobody's going to be worse in terms of his relationship and in terms of the displays we've seen. I refuse to believe that anybody's going to be worse than Spalletti. So personally, I'll take either one. And look, when you go through these players, a lot of these guys, yes, the strikers aren't great, fine. But a lot of these strikers are playing at a really high level in the Champions League. And those who aren't, guys like Di Lorenzo captained Napoli to the Serie A title. Sandro Tonali had a monster season at Newcastle after his ban. So I don't want to hear, this is the other stupid thing. Spalletti comes out and makes excuses about, 70% of the players in Serie A are foreign. And I'm like, yeah, very, very clever. Except, some of your stalwarts, like Donnarumma, like Tonali, they don't actually play in Italy. There's no rule that says if you're Italian, you have to play in Serie A. So it's just more of this nonsense, this mystifying smoke and mirrors. I just want all of this gone. With Pioli and with Ranieri, to be fair, you're going to get straight answers. You're going to get accountability. And I think that's a first building block if we're going to turn this around.
Where next for Spalletti? Spurs?
Well, this is the madness. This is the strange world that Spalletti inhabits. The initial rumor was Juve. He's going to go to Juventus, of course, because, they're not sold on Igor Tudor and Damian Kamali's coming in. That apparently has been debunked. We know Igor Tudor is going to be there for the Club World Cup anyway. And then after that, they'll see. My guess is they'll keep him unless he really pulls a Spalletti at the Club World Cup. I don't know. I don't know why people keep calling this guy back. The only reason he got into the job was that Roberto Mancini, who I thought had done a really, really good job, he gets offered a gajillion billion dollars and decides to go to Saudi Arabia and then figures out, ooh, there's more to life than money, especially when nobody likes me because I'm screwing things up with Saudi Arabia, and then comes back and says one of his biggest regrets was walking out in the Italy job. I'd even consider it's not going to happen. It's impossible. I would have even had Mancini back if I could. Again, not going to happen. But Spalletti, I don't know. I mean, he's toxic right now, I think.
One last thing, Gab. Chivu to Inter.
Cristian Chivu, yeah. Look, the man won the treble under Jose Mourinho. So what are you going to say to that, right? He has a ton of experience coaching for Inter's youth team. He's kind of like, I don't want to say Inter's Ryan Mason because that would be mean. Wow. But he's the guy who's been in-house for many, many years. He left to take over Parma when they were close to the drop. Parma, by the way, at the time, one of the youngest teams certainly the youngest team in Serie A, one of the youngest teams in Europe's Big Five leagues. He kept them up. He knows the club inside and out. Let's try the in-house appointment now. I think it's not an ambitious bet, but after you spent money and resources on a team, kind of makes sense to give somebody a shot. He certainly waited his turn.
Confirmation, then they are 6 clear of Israel.
Told you not to sleep on them.
Yes, Don. It's going to be a long week. Italy's second, third. Where do we stand on Poland? Don, are we sleeping on them?
I would.
Poland, 2 wins out of 2 for them, but the big controversy is all around Robert Lewandowski and the fact that he has been stripped of the captaincy. This is how he found out about it. I've been wearing the armband for 11 years and playing for the national team for 17. It seemed to me that such matters should be handled differently. Everything was communicated over the phone. It really shouldn't be like this. The coach betrayed my trust. For more on this, Mario, I'm sorry, I'm going to start with Gab. Just because I kind of want everything to be summed up here, Gab, because obviously Lewandowski didn't go to a couple of matches, had this captaincy stripped, and his take is, look, I found out, and the media happened to find out 10 seconds later before I even had the chance to tell my family.
That's fine. Your family who's so upset about you losing the captain's armband, so you react by deciding that I'm not going to play for this team unless you change the manager. This is rational behavior. I'm going to say, it was obviously very upsetting to him, and this is why he reacted the way he did. But it's also hugely disrespectful to his teammate, Piotr Zielinski, of course, was given the captain's armband. And he could have picked up the phone to the coach as well. Well, no, but he doesn't like talking on the phone and hearing on the phone that he's not going to have the captain's armband anymore. Look, I think if you're a Barcelona fan, you're happy to have more time on his hands. But no FA, no serious club in the world can accept a player saying, I'm not going to play unless you change the coach. Right? It's just not good practice. So I don't see how he's winning this one.
Mario, whose side are you on in this situation? Welcome to the show, Mario.
I think look, the situation, you're never going to be bigger than your nation, right? Because you always want to represent them. So that's one key thing. On that, I understand what Gab said. But on the other side, you understand, also his pride is speaking. He had the captaincy for so long. He felt like the coach should have taken more time in the sense of I'm the oldest player. I'm the most, I think, arguably at this point, you understand, the most recognized and talked about player in that country. And for that feeling, I think he feels like, hey, you should have handled it different. Why do you give me a phone call? Why don't you just, we find a way to meet up or whatever? Because now you call me up. I'm at home with my family. The last thing I want to worry about is you stripping me off of my captaincy while you expect me to deliver the same for you. And that becomes tricky now. So in that sense, you understand, I understand the player, regardless if I also have to understand the nation, because we will never win from a nation. So on the other side, they definitely have to talk. And definitely, if Lewandowski still wants to play a bigger game, then he already achieved so much. But I mean, like a big tournament, he should go on and have that conversation, because if not, he probably will never represent his country again.
Let's not forget, Lewandowski said that he didn't want to play in the games against Moldova or Finland.
Yeah.
Physically and mentally tired. You're kind of setting yourself up, aren't you?
Well,
After making that decision?
in one sense, yes. I'll be honest, I think it's an overreaction from Lewandowski, but I kind of see his point. First of all, the game against Moldova is a friendly, right? That counts for nothing. You're 36 years old, you've had the season that you've had with Barcelona as long as it's been, and we've all sat here and spoken about how extended the football calendar is. So you sympathise with that side of how he's feeling. A little drained physically, a little drained mentally. And you asked to be excused for 2 games, one being a friendly. Now, I think you could just, if you are determined to strip him of the captaincy, or that's what's going to happen, he's not going to be around for a couple of weeks. Fine. You name a new captain. The team meets back up for the next international window in September. You sit down, and I still believe in the value of sitting down and having conversations face to face. You sit down with him before those games in September and say, listen, I'm not having you as my captain anymore. You're just at that age, or whatever excuse you want to use. But to have that conversation...
Is FaceTime better?
No.
Zoom.
Yeah.
Man.
Post it on TikTok. No. I'm not.
Actually put some filter on.
Right. I am a firm believer in just old school. Let's sit down, have that conversation.
Exactly.
This is my decision.
Yes.
This is why I'm making it.
Right.
And
The end of the world, though, is it?
no, it's not, and which is why I say it's an overreaction.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of an overreaction. It's not the end of the world, but still, I'll give you a call.
Yeah.
And why? I'll
Seems
give
very
you a call now to tell
self-indulgent,
you.
though. Self-indulgent from the player to say, "Oh, you phoned me while I was putting my kids to sleep."
Now,
your
the
kids have been
speculation
devastated?
the speculation is that he says he's not coming for these 2 games, and the Poland fans are up in arms about it. And that prompts the coach to make the call, or or whoever it is instructs him to make the call, to appease the fans who aren't happy that he's coming. That is equally ridiculous. That is as ridiculous as anything here. As Lewandowski saying that he's not playing. That you are basing your decisions on fan outcry, that can't be. That will never wash with me.
What about as a teammate? How are you feeling?
What, in terms of his teammate? I mean, to be fair to him, I think he mentioned Zielinski and said he's happy for him that he's got the armband. So I think he sort of squared that one off.
He's costing you a chance of going to the World Cup, isn't he? Because this Poland side's
Well, he
there with
is.
him in it.
Well, 100%. But if you've got a teammate that's a little bit disruptive and a little bit his ego's gone too big, then sometimes as a player, sometimes you think, well, sometimes we're better off without him. If he's going to cause a stir every time the training camps are on, and he's going to act a little bit Billy Big Time, and he swans around the place like he is big time, I'm not saying he is, but if that's the way he acts, then as a player you think, and you look at him, you think, like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, it's about the team, it's about us, it's not about you. So I don't know why he's been that self-indulgent to take himself out of the equation and not play for his country anymore. That seems too far, it seems extreme. Why would you not want to play for your country just because you don't get on with the coach? We've all played with coaches we don't get on with.
Right.
You still play for your national side.
Mario?
Yeah, but I still think, you understand what Chaka said. I still think you have to talk to him. Regardless, if we were,
When
when
you
we were
talk to him,
players,
he's not
you
coming.
understand?
He's
The
not
only
coming,
thing-
Mario. He's tired. He's not getting on a plane.
No, but I think, you understand, when we look at this situation, I totally, I already said, you understand what I said about their nation, right? And I understand that. I understand the sensitivity of the situation. But you still have to be man enough, even if you are the coach. You know you're in charge. You dictate everything, regardless of what he wants to do. Because what you guys said, yeah, of course. If you have a difficulty in a team, you don't want to take him on because you got to be away for a couple of weeks. And the last thing you want is having someone in your team that is going to go against the current of where the team is traveling to. So that you don't want, but you got to sit him down. Come on, sit down with him. Tell the guy face to face and tell him, you understand? Like, right. And sometimes we hide behind a phone call. And that is the thing that I don't like.
I think where Lewandowski's probably got the
hiding behind a phone call.
I think where Lewandowski's probably got the is once the phone call's been made and he's been told that he's been stripped the captaincy, then he's had no time to either say it his way before the press have got hold of it. So he's probably thinking, why have you gone to the press and told the press within 5 minutes of our phone call? Why didn't you give it a little bit more time for me to explain what's happened? That's probably where he seems or feels though he's being deceived a little bit.
Last word on this, you, Gab.
Yeah, no, I don't follow. Like, so the coach should have him come to the national team, and then when he's there, be like, "Surprise, you're no longer captain." I mean, I don't follow this. Jules today, I think I'm just was reminded me that in the last two major tournaments that Lewandowski showed up with Poland, he scored as many goals as Xhaka did in those tournaments, which is a big fat zero.
Well done, Shaq.
Yeah.
You know,
Looking
so
for a new contract.
let's be realistic. When he plays for Barcelona, he's been one kind of player of late. The man turning 37 this summer, I believe. You know, also because he's a good pro, and it's warmer, and he's got Rafinha and Lamine Yamal and Pedri to set him up, and they play a certain way for him. When he plays with the national team, he's got different players. It's a different setting. And so to expect everything to be, you know, expect you to be forever young and to be captain forever, he's going to be 38 years old in 2026 or thereabouts. I think somebody needs a bit of a reality check here.
When I watched that game, this is one of the key things that I had to highlight and say, like, wow, that was super interesting. And one of the other parts is what I saw that Martinez, at the last part, like the second half of the extra time, the tradition of Portugal came back of like, we're just going to sit and we don't care. We just wanted to go to penalties. And I was just impressed, like thinking like, I don't know if the coach wanted that, but the team clearly didn't want it to move forward anymore because they all dropped back and said like, okay, we're just going to defend, run this down, and let's take it on into penalties. And you sometimes don't expect people to do that, but Portugal did it prior to this. They had done it before, and they did it again, and they won.
Two sides then to this Cristiano Ronaldo argument. Of course, we heard yesterday Stevie and Ali explaining the fact that, yes, he got the goal, but how much reliability is he during that 90 minutes that kind of outweighs the goal that he's going to get? What are you losing having on the pitch, and what are you gaining, and where's that balance struck?
Well, that was the dynamic when he was at Man United, wasn't they? When people said he didn't run around enough, didn't close down, didn't start off the press, but then Ronaldo would say, well, I got 20-odd goals a season. Listen, I think it's remarkable what he's doing at 40. I think he's a shining example to any youngster that's making their way into professional football, how to live your life and how to conduct yourself in terms of have a sports scientist, have your own chef, have everything about you that's going to make you last till you're 40 years old. Now, that's the big question. How much you get by playing him in terms of when he gets a chance, he's going to score. But what he doesn't give you when you haven't got the ball, you're a man down, because at 40, you can't be chasing here, there and everywhere to try and start that press off and close down. So I think for a manager, it must be very difficult to try and navigate what you do with it.
Roberto Martinez set out it's still early. He said he's playing, that's it.
So, but the conversation you would have with Ronaldo is hopefully Roberto Martinez has got that relationship with Ronaldo to say, listen, if you are faded in the game, and it might be half time, it might be an hour, don't be upset that I've got to make a brave call and take you off. Don't make it all about you, because that's going to have to happen at 40.
He doesn't need to have that conversation. You're the boss, aren't you?
Yeah, but I still think you need to have it. I think you need to have it private in a 1v1 conversation. You wouldn't phone him up and do it via Zoom, right? You'd have the conversation, and say, right. I say that in jest. No, I think what you've got to make sure is he doesn't start, acting all up when you take him off on 75 minutes if you're 1-0 down or 0-0. You've got to be brave enough and man enough to say, look, I've got to make big calls. And at times, if we're not getting too much success at the top end of the pitch, sometimes you might have to be the man that comes off.
I'll be honest, I'm not sure I trust Roberto Martinez to be that man to make that big a call. First of all, I'll double down on what Don said. To see Cristiano Ronaldo doing what he is at 40 is simply incredible. It really is. At no point do I feel that Ronaldo is that kind of big-headed, bad apple in that dressing room. Everything about him says that he continues to contribute, at least from a personality and leadership perspective, in a way that you fully expect it, that you fully hope. Now, that may not translate to performances, given that he's 40 years old, so you understand him being around, but Roberto Martinez is not going to make that call. He can't. He won't.
Obviously, you played under Roberto Martinez, Mario.
Yeah, and I know he will never going to make that call, because when I played under him, I knew exactly what his decisions were. He's not going to tell Ronaldo to come out of the team. If Ronaldo... If they personally, because they look like they have a great relationship, so I don't think that is going to be a difficulty for them to have that conversation in the sense of like what it's going to be. But knowing Martinez, like in a time, okay, maybe a lot have changed because it's you as human you change, But I think he will do that out of himself, like how Martinez is. He will have the conversation and say to him, like, look, you know, I think that was one of the key points. I think it was Dan or Shaka said that there comes a point where you also as a player have to understand that, listen, you're 40, I got to take you off. You understand? If it's going to be like, if I see after 45 minutes, you're not bringing what the team needs, I hope you, not I hope, you have to understand that you have to come and sit next to me. And Ronaldo is that big of a player. At this point, I think where Ronaldo is now in his career, he already have to achieve more than any football player in the world can talk about. So, okay, what we have now. At this point, I'm talking about, maybe you have Messi. But away from that, them two, you come to a point, you go and sit, tell the coach, okay, I want to go, maybe if you still want to go to the World Cup, it's a big question, but whatever you want to achieve, be calm, sit down and make sure that your country wins. That's the only goal Ronaldo should have, and that's what Martinez has to go for too.
Where's he going to go, Gab? Who's he going to play for between now and the World Cup?
Well, it looks like he's going back to Saudi Arabia, going back to Al Nassr. There was some suggestion, thanks to investigative journalist Aisho Speed, who of course was visited by Gianni Infantino during one of his streams, and Infantino reminded everybody, hey, look, maybe he can come and, you know, he can sign with anybody. We have this little transfer window, and then he can go back to Saudi Arabia.
We had a conversation.
What year was this? What year was this? Was there phones in them days?
Well, there were phones, but there was no.
They're plugged into a wall.
He called me into his office and explained his decision, and I totally respect.
What was this? What was his explanation?
I was going out to contract, and if I wasn't prepared to sign a contract to extend, he would then have to think longer term, and he brought Shea Given in, which, I understand he's doing what's best for the football club. I didn't agree with the decision, but he's doing what's best for the football club, and I respect that. I respect his honesty. I respect the fact that he has that conversation with me face to face, and doesn't try to hide anything. He could have just dropped me. He could have just left me out on the Saturday. He didn't need to explain it to me. He didn't need to, and that's what I respect. And I will always love and respect Kenny Dalglish for that. Now, what those players' relationships were with Ange Postecoglou, again, they will know better as to how any decisions were relayed to them or those conversations that were had. So you understand that a player can respect a manager, can like a manager, and still, even though that manager isn't getting the best out of the team.
Right. And I've sat in front of managers, and within 5 seconds they're giving you absolute waffle.
Absolutely.
Right. You can see it you can hear it and you can feel it and you can see it. It's waffle.
Well, I don't think that's unique to football. I think that's in any business. You can kind of tell right from the off where you stand. Mario?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That's why I was also laughing with the guy saying, you know, like as a footballer, you just want someone to talk to you straight. Because straight has the longevity in any footballer's brain. You know, you walk up, the coach tells you, listen, you're not going to be my guy. Okay, cool. Then at least I know. But if he's going to tell, no, you're my guy, and next thing you see, you don't play 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, that's not cool. But when it goes back to the situation, you understand, I think he was in a difficulty. We saw it the whole season he was going through, you understand, and we were just waiting for what the decision was going to be. He changed his way of playing. The whole year we've been waiting, and he waited till the final to change it. He did change it in the final. They won it, and it clearly what he has said prior to that, remember when he mentioned and said, like, I win in the second season? He clearly did. And then the players, yeah, of course, they're happy that they won some. But then Thomas Frank is going to come in. One of the key things is Frank, because I met him a couple of times, and I spoke to him a couple of times, the way he thinks about the game and the way he builds the game and the way his vision is behind it. One of the key things is he's going to come to a club now, and he's leaving a club that is really set in the way he wants it to be. Because I think Brentford really is an extraordinary team in the sense of like how they build it, how they generate everything to make you succeed as a manager. Because you don't have to win every game. That's all one. You know, at Spurs, they want Champions League. They want to play Champions League every year, even if they don't make it. Now he's leaving that, the kind of like keeping them in the Premier League feeling. Now you need to make sure you get us, making sure that we compete in the Champions League. So he's going to step up. Does he have the character? Yeah. The willpower? Yeah, he will have that. But one of the key things you have to remember, not everything at Spurs is going to be already ready for him to be waiting for him. He has to build a lot. and it's going to take him a lot of time to do that.
What do you want?
No, I was just thinking when we were talking waffle there, I remember playing for a manager, I won't name him, and he was going to sign a player from Sunderland who was my best mate at the time. And I said to the manager, I didn't get on with him. Shaka played for him, so people like that can try and work it out.
Oh, Alan Pardew?
Yes.
There we go.
Who we didn't get on. So I said, I knew.
Basically, the answer to any question is Alan Pardew.
So my best mate, John Austin, was coming down from Sunderland to West Ham. So I didn't get on with Pards. In fact, I've got to say, I'll put it on record, a brilliant trainer.
Right.
Like some of the best sessions I've ever had. Just as a one-on-one, we just didn't get on.
Yep.
Anyway, so I went to see Pards and I said, listen, John's coming down to Stansted today. I said, I'll pick him up, I'll bring him to your house. You two can chat what you want to chat. I'll go for a coffee. Phone me when you're done. I'll take him back to Stansted Airport. So I picked John up. I took him to Alan's house. I went for a cup of coffee. They had the meeting for about 45 minutes, an hour. Picked John up to take him back to the airport. And I went, what was the meeting like? He went, you're very good. Like, he was a bit weird, though. And I went, why? And he went, well, I said to him, when am I going to play? And he went, centre midfield. You're going to take Don's position?
Oh my God!
Is that what happened?
That is exactly. No, John didn't sign.
Wow.
John never signed for him.
Wow, there we go. That's
Honestly,
brilliant.
like he didn't think it was going to get back.
Maybe you did.
No, of course he did.
Saved him the hassle. Meanwhile, speaking of signings, Manchester City looking, of course, to build on what was a terrible season last year. Looking at reports, obviously we still got some that may come in, but Aït-Nouri is a done deal, Gab?
It looks that way. Certainly, he's coming in for that left-sided defensive position. But he's not, obviously, those who've seen him at Wolves, he's not just your up and down left back who runs in straight lines. He's a very technically gifted player. I think this means the end of Josko Gvardiol at left back, and they'll put him in the middle where he can do, lead the defense from the center back role alongside Ruben Dias. The other signings, as you mentioned there, with Tijani Reinders, we knew that was happening. I think what you're getting is a lot of energy. There have been some disciplinary issues with Aït-Nouri in the back. You assume that's going. We won't have that with Pep. Pep doesn't quite put up with that. But he's a very solid signing. Reinders, I had a monster season for Milan. Played both as an 8 and as a 10. He's a high energy guy. He's always positive. He always has like a smile on his face. Always puts in the effort. Teammates absolutely love him, and I think he's developed into a real leader. Maybe some might say a late bloomer, but what a midfielder he is.
You're saying both are panic buys?
No, I don't get this joined up thinking from Pep signing these players, because where's Nico Gonzalez going to play if they sign Reinders? If they sign Cherki? Where's Rodri going to play? Where's Kovacic going to play? They've got so many midfield. Marmoush is another one who's at number 10. Where are all these guys going to play? Ryan Aït-Nouri, I watched him about 5 years ago when he was at Wolves, 4 or 5 years ago, and I thought, one of the best attacking fullbacks I think I've seen for a long, long time. Defensively, over the last 18 months, all over the place.
Oh, okay.
So that's at Wolves. Maybe he's better players in front of him, but his defensive skills are not great. So if you look at these signings, when you watch them play, you think, well, they look good, Aït-Nouri, attacking player, but is that what City want? Do they not want a proper left-sided defender who can defend? Because when you watch Man City, if you close your eyes, you see a goal going against them. It's transition that hurts them. But he's a very much attacking player. He's played as a false 9 for Wolves in a game or two. I interviewed their sporting director, Matt Hobbs, who's now, I think, gone. And he said, unbelievable going forward. We've got to try and rein him in because he's so offensively minded. He doesn't want to defend, or sometimes he can't. So I look at these players and think, where's Cherki going to play? Where's Reinders going to play on top of the guys that I mentioned? And obviously, Aït-Nouri will start, but it puts a lot of doubt on Kovacic. As I said, Rodri, Nico Gonzalez, Marmoush. Where are all these guys going to fit in? In a squad that Pep said, by the way, I want a small squad.
Go on, Mario.
Yeah, but Don, in the middle, but during the season also in the middle, one of the key things that he really struggled with was the energy in the middle of the park, because his teams got beaten, and a lot of big challenges. So I think that he also, the one of Reinders, maybe because also I'm a Dutch boy, was one of the advantages of the situation Milan is in. You understand, of the selling had to happen, and they pounced on the situation of getting a good deal out of that situation. But away from that, he's also a great footballer. Don't get me wrong; he had a great season, and also for the national team. But I think those are one of the key things, and I think he has to. He has one more year left, Guardiola. And we know what all managers want. When they come in the final year, they want to make sure they leave with a head up. So they're going to try to at least try to create back with what they had achieved. And I think that is what he's really focused on. Is he doing it in the right way? Like what you said, Don, on the left-hand side, picking him, because he doesn't have the left-hand side. You saw that he kept on changing everybody in it. So you have to pick a player that wants to. And also, if we look at, he needs a player that can handle having the ball, because that's why he's going for him. No defensively, but he goes more for him. I want to make sure that my team can compete when we have the ball. That is always, because the way he plays, the way his culture, where he comes from, the Johan Cruyff situation is like, no, we first focus on having the ball. We don't focus on not having it. And I think that's why he went for that player.
A lot more talk on Manchester City, of course, to come throughout the summer. Gab, we'll let you. Gab, what are you doing? You going on holiday this summer? What's the plan?
I'm coming to see you, Dan.
Marvelous.
I'm coming over for the Club World Cup.
Wow.
I'll be catching a bunch of group games and hopefully visiting you guys up in Bristol.
Oh, it'd be great to see you. Don's calling those games as well, aren't you, Don?
Looking forward to
It's all going. Shaq will be here, though, won't you, Shaq?
Well,
no, you're going to Colombia.
I am.
Oh, my goodness, everyone's off. Transfer Talk is always available over on our website. Be sure to go to ESPNFC.com. Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Thank you as always for all your questions. Mario's here. Nice close-up of Mario's head. Look, beautiful. Shaq is there. Don still hasn't managed to work out his seat.
I'm not touching it, because I know if I touch the seat, it'll go lower.
Hey, not many people make me feel tall, Don. But
If I touch it, it will go lower.
how has your trip been so far?
Very good.
Yeah.
Got in late last night, a bit jet-lagged.
It's been all right.
Yeah.
I didn't know Dom was going to be here.
I woke up at 4.
Very pleasant surprise.
Woke up at 5.
Nice.
Woke up at 6.
There we
Woke
go.
up at 7.
Yeah.
And I'm away.
And you're good. I want to ask you, boys, before we get to these, I saw Xabi Alonso taking his first training session at Real Madrid today. Mario, what's it like when a manager has his first session? Is everyone a little bit kind of better behaved? Everyone's on time? Is everyone trying to show off? Like, how does it work? How does that dynamic work?
Of course, the manager comes in there, and I'm going to tell you, look, you're going to have the guys who were like the most difficult guys in the team,
Yeah.
with the manager prior to that, and they're the first leading the line when you have to run.
Brilliant.
If the manager says, okay, guys, we go running now, everybody is there. You sometimes looking at them say like, you were never doing that. Okay, because you know, everybody gets, all the chances are for everybody again there. So everybody's turning up, everybody's on time, all the difficulty what you were doing before, you're not doing that again. And then later on, when you see the manager doesn't play them, then you see them dropping back to what they were doing prior to that. Before that, it's all the same.
You know the funny ones, Dan, is the guys that are late every single day.
Yeah.
You can call them, can't you, Shaq?
Oh, yeah.
You just know the guys that are late all of a sudden he's half an hour early. And you call them
first
out and
day
go,
of training.
yeah, you go, what are you doing half an hour early? You're late every single day.
Yeah.
Trying to put on a show.
Brilliant. But everyone is on their best behaviour.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
First
then,
day of school. It's like the first day of school.
and then you get dropped and you go, come in later.
That's it. That's done. Four
you
big
see?
sides have had a rough week. Germany, France, Spain and England. Which of the 4 managers has the biggest task on their hands?
Tuchel.
Thomas Tuchel, you think so?
Yeah. I'm
More
not,
than Germany? More than...
I'm just not sure Thomas Tuchel with England's going to work. I just don't get the sense he's a fantastic technician, he is. Tactical coach, should I say. But in terms of being warm and getting the best out of these England players...
He's rejuvenated Jordan Henderson. Who would have the vision to
amazing.
play him?
I mean, what I would say is I thought the critics went over the top. Watching that England game, I thought, how many of those England players really wanted to play in that
Nobody
game?
watched it over here.
How many wanted to play in it?
Yeah.
How many really wanted to play in that when all the seasons have been finished a couple of weeks?
Yeah.
Their performances, we've seen a million times, we'll see a million times again. Season's finished, couple of weeks in, international game. Not because the players are disinterested or got a lack of heart to play in it, just there's so much on the line for a busy season to then turn up in an international game and try and turn it on. Just not in you.
Mario, do you agree out of those 4 teams, England and Thomas Tuchel have got a bigger task than, say, Lopetegui?
Yeah, it's going to be tricky for him. Why? Because everybody's watching it. And also the game that they play there, away from home, playing against the nation. I played there myself when I played for Holland. And if you don't score early, I'm telling you then, you're never going to do well. Right. You know, some games you play with your country, you're never going to do well. Believe me. It doesn't matter. If England would have won 5-0, they would have said like, yeah, but the game wasn't great. So that you already know. So prior to the game starts, you already have to tell the guys in the dressing room, guys, we are not going to play the best game that we know, but we have to bring the energy and make sure that we score early. And I think that is what didn't happen with England, and that's why people jumped on it. So I think for him, you understand, it's going to be a big question to get that team going, because they are so talented and so much quality in a side. So it has to come out one day. It cannot every year be the same with England.
You're very passionate, Dan, when you watch England games. When I come over here, you are unbelievably passionate.
Yeah, I think it's the only team I'm passionate about.
Did you get my sense with Tuchel, or do you think it'll work?
I didn't bother watching that game, Don.
No, in terms of, because you know who he is.
Not really. Just be the usual. We'll find out in the big tournament next year as to what's going to happen. And it won't be positive.
Come on, Scotland.
Did you just chuck in a time will tell?
I think maybe a time will tell.
We had a big thing with that a couple of days ago.
Is it?
It's because I asked Casey if it was right to sack Ange, and he went, time will tell.
I was like,
You can't say time will tell on this show. Obligatory percentage question for Don.
Here we go.
Will Real Madrid win the Club World Cup? What's the percentage chance?
I don't know.
Ooh.
Are you doing any of their games?
No, I've got Dortmund, Porto, Ulsan, Mamelodi Sundowns, South African side.
Yeah.
I
don't really care.
Inter Miami. Got 2 Inter Miami games.
There we go, right.
The answer to that is I don't know, so 50%.
50%?
I think.
So you've got them over the field?
I think so.
Really?
Well, as I said before, I'm really intrigued to see how some of the, like Inter Miami, for example, with Busquets and Messi.
Yeah, but they don't count. They're not.
No. But I'm intrigued to see how they get on.
Atletico Madrid.
Exactly. I'm intrigued to see how they get on in terms of their fitness. The City use it as a Rodri pre-season exercise.
Right.
I don't know because I don't know how serious they take it.
Yeah.
So Real Madrid 50%.
Let's say 49. We'll move on.
25.
Oh my goodness, that's a big dip.
Whoa, why choose that one?
Because I know if I went 49, I'd say who's 61 then? He'd try and trip me up somewhere.
It's not a two-horse race. It's 32 teams.
Well, I don't know then. Time will tell.
Time will tell. Shaka, do you think United will suffer the fate of Everton, Leeds, Blackburn, Sunderland? Did you ever imagine these historically important clubs would fall as low as they have?
I don't think Manchester United will suffer certainly as badly as Blackburn, Sunderland, Leeds, Everton. Haven't been relegated, have they? So no, I don't.
Nah, it can't happen.
Yeah, I don't think United will get relegated. I didn't think, nor did I think I'd be talking about a Manchester United team ever being as 15th or whatever the hell it was. But they won't drop any further than that. No.
Don, does it seem like the Serie A managerial jobs are just a deck of cards being shuffled with the same managers being drawn each time? Are owners afraid to go outside of the league to look for candidates? Or do foreign managers not want to come to Serie A?
There's a lot to take in there. I don't get the sense or the feeling that the same old managers get jobs in Serie A. I think Gasperini is a shining example at his age, what you can do. The job that he's done at Atalanta, he's now got the Roma job. I think there's going to be so many...
Allegri, Conte.
Allegri,
There does seem to be quite a managerial merry-go-round.
I think Allegri's done. I watched a lot of Juve games when Allegri was in charge, and it was very, very slow and boring and obvious.
Oh, dear.
I don't know where he lands. He might do, because he might land because of the name. But Ivan Juric is back in Serie A. That's a strange appointment coming off the back of Gasperini at Atalanta, completely different style. So I'm intrigued to see how many changes there will be in the summer, because it's going to be loads.
Would 35-year-old Jordan Henderson, Mario, start for any top-half Premier League teams? If no, why is he a star for England with the World Cup a year away?
I should ask you that, Dan.
Well, no, because he's an Ajax boy, isn't it?
Well, let Mario answer and then you
No,
answer.
because he's an Ajax boy. No, but look, I think, you know what the key thing is here in the Henderson situation? I think he's probably, like the things that he mean to the team, because some of the young boys are saying that. It comes back to the question that we talked about Ronaldo and all of them, right? It comes down to making him understand that sometimes you might not going to be part of the journey of playing wise, but being part of the squad in the sense of like if you're going to bring something that will motivate the team. But away from that, you understand, like at this point now, you have so many young, great talents. Now it has to be like, okay, you have to make sure that he is important for your team, but who is going to play? you guys, come on, man. You know, sometimes I ask myself, don't you want to use the talents that you have? That's the question that is going to come. And I still believe that Henderson is important for your squad because his maturity and the things of understanding the game. Yes, I get that. But on the other part, you have so much talent, guys. Come on, you can make a team out of it and making sure that they do whatever Henderson would have done, but then on the younger age.
Who finished in the top 10? Bournemouth? Would he get in their side? Would he get in Fulham side? Brentford side?
I don't care.
What do you think, Dan?
I don't care. Can Don
you
please
do.
explain...
We've seen you supporting England.
Can Don please explain when to properly use the terms on the bounce, on the spin, on the trot?
And please when
And if there are any other British terms I should know.
Well, I always use.
They all mean the same.
Well, I
They're
always
all the
use
same.
one. I always use one of those three in commentary when a team's in good form.
On the trot, I don't believe I've...
On the trot.
Oh, like 3 wins on the trot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 3 wins on the bounce, 3 wins on the spin, 3 wins
Yes.
on the trot.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
They all mean the exact same
exact
There
same
we go.
thing.
For Xhaka,
What?
any advice you'd like to give to Lamine Yamal after his final performance?
Why we want to give Lamine Yamal?
I don't know, Shaq, because of course we've seen you with Prime Minister.
Come on, Dad. Come on, Dad. Talk to us, Dad.
Exactly.
I have to give Lamine Yamal advice.
Mario, you see Xhaka was at Downing Street last week. Big time.
No, I didn't.
Yeah?
Yeah, he was there.
He was having a
Xhaka,
pint with the
what
Prime
happened?
Minister.
What happened? What did you do there?
Huh? Just
Oh my God,
hanging
listen,
out,
Xhaka,
hanging out in the garden.
I have to give you the bow. I have to give you the bow, my friend, because you achieve things that some of us don't achieve.
Well done. Now, to that point, Xhaka, how important is knighthood to English players? And do you have teammates with aspirations of being called Sir one day? Now, you were born in England?
Yeah.
So you're allowed to, you would be eligible for a Knight of the Realm,
I don't know.
OBE, MBE, things like that.
I don't know.
Would it be something that you would accept for your,
I think it's great.
your dedication to...
If it was offered, I'd accept it, but I'm not going to go out campaigning.
I think it's-
for it.
Well, I think we start that campaign here.
No, we do not. No, we're not
Start
campaigning.
it.
NBA.
Start it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is in context of David Beckham. And there
becoming
were
a
suggestions
But
that's
it's
something
special.
that he's been chasing over the years.
And she's a Lady Victoria,
Yeah,
I believe.
sorry, yeah.
I think she gets Lady Victoria.
Right.
I think that's the thing I read.
Okay.
That big takeaway here?
I think it's special.
Adelalea, that know nothing about.
So John Beresford, John Beresford is MBE. John
Right.
and he was so pleased.
Oh, nice.
He was so pleased.
Yes.
Yeah, I got so.
This is what?
Best in MBE.
Mario, is there
Not
a Dutch
a
alternative?
Yeah.
Especially for the people who don't know, it's for services to the community or to the country. For example, in England, you get an MBE, a CBE, an OBE, and then like
Yeah.
a big, the Sir is kind of like the crowning.
Yeah.
Music.
Talking about this, I think this is special. Him getting that, it's, I can hear the end. Look, I started a marathon in London at the London Bridge. For me, there was an amazing achievement because of, you understand, coming as a Dutch kid, don't have no English background to it, but then starting a marathon on the London Bridge, I was like, wow, this was really cool.
What
And
you
it was
talking about?
For the British Heart Foundation. So I say, for him, no, but I'm saying this was special for me. But for him to get the knighthood to go after that as a player, of course it's going to be special. Yes.
How you
I
draw
would, if I had the opportunity.
How you draw parallel between Beckham getting a knighthood and you running a race? You just run a race over a bridge.
I said that moment was special for me, so I totally can understand him feeling special about getting the knighthood because mine was a small thing. Mine was a small thing. No, but mine was a small thing and I felt special. So imagine I get a knighthood. I'll be running all the way through England.
So Mario's little medal for running a race is the same as being a Sir Beckham.
Did you complete
No, I didn't run the race then. I started the race. I didn't run it.
Did you finish
I didn't
it?
run it. But I say, give me the knighthood done and I'll be feeling extraordinarily
You were the
happy.
starter for the race. You pulled the gun. Or
No,
was it going?
you hold, yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
wow. For the London Marathon.
Yes, exactly.
Really?
Wow. Who?
Daddy.
Yeah, I didn't run it.
Wow.
It was for the British Heart Foundation.
Wow.
Bang, shoot it. Special.
Who didn't turn
Love
up late? Who did you have to replace?
No, Dan, I was fortunate
Yes.
You know, for my little moment, you will not take it away. It was
No.
special for myself.
No,
And I
exactly.
felt special, and I'm still grateful for it.
Good. I'm sorry that Shaq has ruined your special moment. That is it. ESPN FC will be back tomorrow.
I'd like you to call me Dr. Hislop from now.
Okay, of course, Shaq is a doctor.
That's right. So never mind this silly.
You ain't getting a doc.
I want to be Dr. Hislop from now.
You ain't getting
What should we call Don?